mentioned with Glasnow, there's still a few more boxes that he needs to check off before he comes to the major leagues, but it's kind of making it tough on you guys to not bring him up in September, be an option.
Well, you know, it's funny. I started to think about Polanco and the conversations that we had week after week after week after week with Gregory, and couldn't be more excited about Tyler Glasnow and his growth and his development from the beginning of this year, from the beginning of his time with the Pirates, and are completely looking forward to what he can be at the major league level. And performance and success in AAA does not always translate to the big leagues, and he's got weapons. The consistency of the weapons, the ability to utilize those weapons, the ability to come up and get major league hitters out versus AAA hitters out, completely different spectrums, and have left the door open just because he's doing some really good things, but he continues to remind us that there are still some really good things that he needs to do. And at this point, he's not on our radar to come up here in September or October because we still feel that there's some development left to go. I've tried to leave the window open. We've tried to leave the window open to keep progressing, but he's not in our plans as we sit here right now. Excited about what he will become. Can't wait to see him on a big league mound in Pittsburgh or wherever he ends up as he's pitching for us and against someone else. But not a guy that that we're planning on as we sit here today.
Is there another part of the equation that, since your rotation has been so strong, there's not a sense of urgency to bring up a promising young guy like him right now?
Well, as we've tried to say from I think day one being here, our goal is to bring a prospect to the big leagues when we feel he's ready to come up here and compete. And in the environment that we'd ask somebody to come up in September, it's about winning every single game and putting ourselves in a position to win as many of these final 34, to close this 3-game loss column deficit, to win a division. It's a lot to ask a young player to come up and help you win a game in April, let alone to help you, to come up and help you win a playoff caliber game in September. And our goal is to put our guys in positions to be successful. Our goal is to bring up young players when they're ready to help us win. And when we get to that point with Tyler, we'll absolutely look to bring him up. We just don't necessarily see that happening this September, October.
Do you anticipate bringing a lot of guys up on September 1st or thereafter, or do you worry if you get too many, it kind of flutters everything else?
You want to be absolutely respectful of the clubhouse, and as a general manager, I walk that fine line between making sure I do everything in my power to give Clint as many weapons and as many tool sets and skill sets to win a game. At the same time, there can be a point where you get too many bodies and guys aren't quite as engaged as the 25 that have been battling through it all year long. So you're sensitive to it. A catcher is a natural progression. You're looking for probably a couple of extra arms and a couple of extra bats, and then maybe there's a specific skill set that goes above and beyond that. You're looking for how that player is going to fit in your clubhouse and how he's going to accept the limited role. Most of the guys we bring up are going to be in limited roles. Middle inning relievers, again, an emergency catcher, a pinch hit opportunity, and sometimes guys don't take well to that. We've had some guys in the past that have come up and not gotten opportunities and haven't been very happy with it. And this is a good club, and we need to be sensitive to the fact that they believe in each other and they understand where they are right now. We've got a group of infielders that are putting their egos aside and putting their personal ambitions aside for the betterment of the team, and we need to respect that as well.
Can you talk about Lees and what you've seen from him just being able to be moved to the bullpen?
Yeah, the thought was he wasn't going to come up. When we put him back in the rotation, the thought was he could be a depth starter for us if we had a need. We ended up not having a need. Went and got Jay Happ, and he's done a nice job for us, and our expectation is AJ's on the right path to come back. Vance cleared waivers and accepted the outright assignment. So we thought Liz would be a pretty good guy to come up and pitch in the middle, but we wanted to get him an opportunity or two or maybe three to be able to do that, as that was a bit of a challenge for him, a guy that had started almost his whole career for the large majority of his opportunities. So we walked that fine line between putting him in a position to help us as a starter and then putting him in a position to be successful as a reliever. And so we've given a couple of relief outings. Still throws the ball really hard. The breaking ball has gotten better. And we do think that he can come up here and pitch some middle innings for us.
When AJ returns, you're going to have kind of an excess maybe of starting pitching. Do any of the guys currently in the rotation kind of profile well for a long relief role?
Well, the nice part about the hypothetical question is that, and I appreciate that you try to avoid the hypothetical question of who'll go to the bullpen when and if AJ comes in, or will you go with a six-man rotation. The best answer I can give you is we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We've got guys that deserve to be in the rotation. We'll have a challenging decision to make, and one that we don't have to discuss publicly until we get to the point where we have an extra starter.
Can you tell us about the process of mapping it out in the final month? Just you kind of tweak the rotation a little bit, start with the road trip, mapping it all the way out through September, and who you start, when you start, and given whatever the playoff scenario may be.
Well, the ultimate goal comes back to putting ourselves in a position to win as many of the 34 games remaining as we can, to close that three-game loss column deficit, to put ourselves in a position to win the division. And while it's easy to focus just on 3 games upcoming against St. Louis, if we don't take care of business in Milwaukee, those 3 games in St. Louis become meaningless. If we take care of the 3 games in Milwaukee, the 3 games in St. Louis, and we don't take care of the next 3 games, then those 3 huge games in St. Louis we just give back. So it's a 34-game season for us remaining, and we'll move the rotation around and put ourselves in a position to win as many of those 34 games as we possibly can.
How about the success of your minor leagues? Indianapolis had a good season. Altoon's having a good season. The Power made the playoffs. What does it say just about the way the organization's progressing, even the fact you're winning with age-appropriate guys at each level?
Well, and that's the big thing, is we don't want to overemphasize wins at the minor league level as a way to say that we're doing things really well. But when you have age-appropriate players, I mean, our goal is to win every single game, every single night when the umpire says play ball. But we believe that in the minor leagues you do that because your scouts do a really good job, your coaches do a really good job the 6 hours before the game of preparing those players to go execute in the game, and then during the game your players execute and put yourself in a position to win a game. It's not the manager out managing that A-ball manager that wins games at the minor league level for us. It's, again, our scouts, our coaches doing a really good job, and then ultimately the players executing during the games. And we've done a nice, solid job of that. We've got depth at different levels. We've got upside prospects at different levels, pitchers upside at different levels, and we had some guys come out and have pretty strong first years, and we think it is reflective of our scouting doing a good job, our coaches doing a good job, and ultimately our players going out and executing.
Dean Traynor, 5 straight winning seasons. What has he brought to this organization?
Yeah, Dean just brings an edge, and he brings a ton of experience, and he brings a guy that has been at AAA for a long time, that understands how to relate to and allow that, because nobody wants to be in AAA. Every young player can't wait till he gets to the big leagues. Every veteran player thinks he should be in the big leagues, and it's by far the hardest level to manage, and Dean does a great job of allowing those guys to voice their displeasure with being in AAA, and then getting them refocused and recentered to how are we going to get you back to the big leagues, or how are we going to get you to the big leagues. And he does a great job connecting and communicating with those guys, runs a real quality game, and Dean's just done a fantastic job for us.
Clint recently said he reinforced the importance of controlling the opposing running game. How important does the organization feel that is, minor league, major league, altogether?
It's absolutely a part of the development plan and path, and at different points in the careers, it's emphasized at different levels. An A-ball guy, we need to get the mechanics, so we need to get the consistency and the repeatability down and the stuff down. But we absolutely need to control the running game, and the stolen base had gone away from the game for a handful of years, and now as the power is becoming more difficult to find, the ability to run the bases, the ability to steal bases, the ability to take the extra base when given to you, or sometimes when it's not given to you, the still ability to take it, that is important. And we emphasize it from both directions. We want to be good base runners. We emphasize balls in dirt, making sure we get the extra base, looking to take the extra base on any ball in play. And there are times where you run into outs at the minor league level, and that's okay, because we want guys to be aggressive. We don't want to be foolish on the bases, and we do understand that the outs are precious, but we need them to be able to be willing to make some mistakes, to learn from those mistakes at the minor league level, and so we do run into some outs at the lower levels as guys are learning. At the upper levels, you want guys to be in a position to understand when they should and when they shouldn't be aggressive, and when is the right time and when is the wrong time. And from a pitcher standpoint, our catchers throw out the guys they're supposed to. Our pitchers need to do a better job of controlling those, and the best base stealers steal off the best catchers. It's the average guy that you want to make sure you control him at least.
Why do you think that has been an issue at times over the past 5 years, especially?
Well, when it's easy to get locked in as a pitcher, and again, it comes back a little bit to, if we set the rotation to take care of this, the next thing pops up and there's an unintended consequence. And there are times where pitch execution is absolutely important, and we rush a delivery to control a runner. We may end up giving up a 3-run home run, and there's a delicate balance that works between the two, and the best do both. But the pitch execution is always going to be the primary focus, and we've had some guys in the past that they're not afraid to give up the stolen base because they're just going to get the next guy to ground out, or they're going to punch out the next guy. And we've tried to walk that balance between, can we execute a pitch successfully while also controlling the running game, and that's where it's not all just slide step driven. You can control the running game by varying your tempo, varying your looks, and we've worked hard with our guys to help them do that.
Do you think you make any trades at all here in the next couple of days? Because I know the deadline for acquiring players to be eligible for the postseason is coming tomorrow night.
The standard answer is we're always looking to find a way to improve the club. The challenge is, and I feel like I've said this the last 4 years, amazingly few players are getting to us that we've placed a claim on. They've been claimed before us, and so it's few and far between that are getting to us. There's been a few trades here in August, and we've been aware of those guys, and obviously have passed on claiming some of those guys. We've claimed some guys that we've actually gotten and haven't been able to work out a deal, and then there's a large majority of players that just aren't getting to us. So, and we're as guilty of it as the next team. We're placing a lot of claims as well to make sure that we either have the opportunity to try to acquire somebody, or prevent our competition from acquiring somebody. So, few and far between are guys that are clearing at this point in time.